Hello again and welcome back to another one. And today we have a couple of wild updates in the hip-hop space. From Kendrick Lamar soaring with Not Like Us that continues to smash hip-hop records left, right and center. And we got another one that hit hours ago. And we got more on Eminem's surprise performance from Jelly Roll's set at the Ford Field Stadium. And let's just say the Detroit news isn't being too kind to Post Malone at the moment, although to be fair, they were just reporting the facts, however hurtful they may sound. And we also have more from DMX's ex-wife that hit the web a few hours ago that sparked split reactions as expected based on the claims she made of how DMX sold his soul. More on this in a moment, as there's a wild plot twist. And today we'll be starting with Kendrick Lamar smashing another record, all thanks to Not Like Us. And clearly, like some fans predicted when this initially went number one, this is on track to objectively become Kendrick's biggest song ever. And a few weeks ago, after its 1-year anniversary, it became the most streamed hip-hop song in a 365-day period on Spotify, smashing Lil Nas X's Industry Babies record in the process. And Not Like Us also erased another Lil Nas X record before this one, when it broke the record for most weeks at number one on the Hot Rap Songs chart that was previously held by Old Town Road. And who would have thought that Kendrick was low-key a fan of DJ Khaled? Tyler wouldn't be happy about this, as we got another one for Not Like Us a few hours ago, raising the tallies, as Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us just became the longest charting rap song ever on the Hot 100, spending a total of 53 weeks on the chart, making it the first rap song to chart for over a year on the Hot 100. And this is crazy because when it was radio silence from Kendrick's camp after Drake dropped, Drake was teasing Kendrick to drop something. And if I recall, even a Drake associate was making jokes back then about how they've got nothing to drop. And here we are today. We got what could become the biggest rap song of all time based on sales in the United States in the long run. And this was dropped on Drake's head. And of course, this sparked split reactions on social media. In Drake's corner, some are taking credit with "Congrats Drake, another record owned by you," while on the same point on the other end, some have expanded. "Now say thank you Drake for being a good punching bag."
Yeah, they had us the first half, I'm not gonna lie. They had us.
But jokes aside, some are now blaming a lack of content to be responsible for the longevity of Not Like Us on the Hot 100. Speaks more of how weak the output has been for over the last 12 months. The charts are starving for new sounds. But something tells me that this is some cope, as this could go another year on the charts. And remember, the Super Bowl performance, coupled with updates on the lawsuit over the song, will continue to extend the longevity of this song, in my opinion. Like, think about it, whenever we get a new discovery from either UMG or Drake's legal team, news about the updates will only serve as some more promotion for Not Like Us moving forward until it ends. And like reports have suggested, UMG is seeking to drag this along. And all things considered, some could say that if Drake ends up losing, we could get some more from DJ Khaled.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
And some have now concluded greatest diss track of all time. And while this could be debated on the objective side of things, this is the biggest diss track of all time based on equivalent song sales. And moving on, days ago, a snippet hit the web from DMX's ex-wife Tashira Simmons when she spoke about how DMX knew that while he gained the world, he lost his soul. Check out a snippet from Hardly Initiated.
Gain the world and lose his soul. I was like,
is that what you define that happened to him? He lost his soul?
Definitely. He knew it. He definitely knew it. X was such a brilliant man, and he was so connected with God. But you can't have one foot here and you can't have one foot over here. Not with the calling on his life that he did. We all have a calling. We all chosen, we all called, but a few of us are chosen for certain things that God is going to put on us to fulfill. And X was one, and he knew his calling. Not all of us know our calling. If we don't dig deep enough, we could live this whole life and not know our calling. And he chose to be over here and over here with the devil and in heaven. And I saw that you cannot play with the devil. He's not powerful. Right. He's only what you give him. And that's what I said. He stepped out. Because I used to try to figure this out. How was such a strong man in God who knew who he was, who knew who God was, fall short like that? But then I found out. It's not like I found out in our marriage. I found out a lot of stuff after. I found out he had a writer because I always traveled with him. He always asked for 2 rooms, one for me and him and one for his jump offs or whatever he wanted to do with it, because it was all not only him in the jump offs, it was a whole party. I didn't find that out till after. So you can't play in the devil's playground and then go back over here with God and be like, nah, you can't. There's not so much time God is gonna allow to do that. You know what I'm saying? Because as you know, X had a serious platform. He still has a serious platform. And I'm only saying this, and it's not in a negative way. I'm saying this because in our last conversations, X knew that he wasn't doing right. You know what I'm saying? But it was beyond his control. And he could have pulled it in, but God had other plans.
And boy, this sparked reactions all over the place as we got a plot twist that made things quite fascinating. But before we get to it, users were going off about how DMX doesn't get enough props, and personally I agree. For instance, a user expanded with, DMX never gets in that talk of Mount Rushmore. 2 albums same year sold over 10 million copies. It's unreal. And out of the gate, his run was unreal. He was the first rapper to get his first 5 studio albums consecutively go #1 on Billboard. And overall, according to global estimates, he's moved over 31.6 million albums, fueled by pure sales, also known as traditional album sales. Sales that make up over 70% of his total equivalent album sales. And more on this note before we get to the spicy bit, they don't make rappers like X anymore. That dude was too real for hip-hop. Out of all the rappers at the table of champions freestyle, I felt like X, Mos, and Pun stood out the most. Cannabis beef with LL derailed his career. John Forte and Mike Geramino were nice but not star level. And before we continue, now's a great time to hit the like button if you are enjoying this content, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. And back on topic, some users believe that there is something else at play here, as apart from takes about how he was cheating on her during the marriage, she just mad he was cheating, to which a user fired back with, that might be true too. It could factor in if he's making promises to his wife to be a certain kind of man and he constantly didn't measure up to that image, infidelity, drug usage. It could all be the same reason why she looks down on him as a broken man. But I don't believe she looks down on him. And some users have also brought up the fact that she was in a legal dispute trying to claim some ownership over some of that quote devil music that DMX lost his soul to. As a user expanded with, context needed, is this before or after she lost the court battle? A direct reference to this, DMX's ex-wife loses legal battle with his estate over catalog ownership. And from the report, a judge in New York has ruled that DMX's ex-wife Tashara Simmons can't claim a 50% stake in the rapper's music catalog and other intellectual property rights. She had attempted to do so by filing a lawsuit against his estate last year. She cited the couple's 2016 divorce agreement, but Judge David F. Everett ruled that the document does not confer ownership, and it continued, the estate is the sole owner of all intellectual property rights that Earl Simmons acquired during his marriage to plaintiff, as well as any and all other trademarks and intellectual property rights that belonged to Earl Simmons at the time of his death, Everett wrote in his ruling. While their divorce settlement did mention intellectual property, the late rapper was adamant before his death that this only referred to royalty payments. Everett continued, under the circumstances of this case, the court will not, in effect, reopen those proceedings to reinterpret the parties' 2016 settlement again, particularly where the party best positioned to contest a contrary interpretation is now deceased. Which begs the question, if he lost his soul making this kind of music, why would one push to own 50% of quote, the soul-stealing kind of music? And some have concluded, can't get his music rights, so she'll speak ill of him. I want her to go back to the fake healed life she claimed she had after him and let that man rest. But to be honest, even DMX alluded to what she said in the clip on multiple occasions in his music. A fine example is the song Lord Give Me a Sign, where he also addressed his spiritual struggles. And better yet, it is one of my favorite DMX singles, to be honest. So yeah, she's not wrong about that one, but it is certainly interesting that she wanted a part of the quote sold his soul music. And heading to the next point, in the last video we covered how Eminem was trending due to his surprise performance, but it turns out that for many users on the web, they weren't actually aware that this wasn't a Jelly Roll concert, but rather Post Malone's, who even brought out Big X the plug.
So grateful to be able to call him my friend. And we'd like to give you a little love from Texas, ladies and gentlemen. Cheers, motherfuckers. And you know, this motherfucker makes some noise. Cheers, cheers.
Jelly Roll was the opener and not the headliner, although looking at the headlines, you'd think it was a Jelly Roll show, as Post Malone was overshadowed by the Eminem cameo, and boy, the Detroit News didn't pull their punches. The writer went off in their review. Post Malone brings country swing to pop hits at Ford Field, but it was Jelly Roll's night. The pop hitmaker had to follow Eminem at his sold-out show, and the report highlighted how this was Post Malone's first stadium tour and his biggest show ever in Detroit, only for this to happen. Check it out. The pop hitmaker brought country swing and rockstar production to his catalog of pop hits during his 2-hour set, but it felt like Eminem and Jelly took the air out of the room during their surprise duet and left the headliner at a disadvantage. And while they expanded on how Post Malone still proved to be a nimble performer with his catalog of huge hits, many of which have gone diamond in the United States, they also highlighted how Post still feels like a tourist in the country genre. Check it out. But he still seems like a tourist in country music, even if he capably pulls off the look and sound of the genre. While he's had success in the space, I Had Some Help, his duet with Wallen, somehow fits both Post and Wallen perfectly. Some of it sags, and the energy of his performance flagged late in the set, especially during a stretch of F1 trillion material that included Pour Me a Drink, a generic drinking song that could belong to any of about a dozen country performers. And after the surprise jolt of Eminem, Post bringing out Dallas rapper Big X the Plug to perform Texas during his set felt like a firework that fizzled out before it exploded in the sky.
Hey bro, come on now, dawg. Come on, man.
So just imagine, he sells out 46,000 tickets at the Ford Field only for the opening act to invite someone who became the highlight of the show before the real show even got started. And some users have reacted with this. The reviewer said Eminem totally stole the show from Post Malone, loudly crying emojis. Poor Posty couldn't compete with M's 3 minutes. It was really unfair to Posty to have to follow Eminem. The grand finale already took place before Post Malone even hit the stage. LOL. And we got a response that I'll throw over to you guys before we end it. Would you like to see this happen, even though the rumors fizzled out a few years back? Yeah, I like Jelly. He's a good guy, but honestly, I wish Em and Posty had a song together already. It could have been a more epic link-up.